Welcome back to the Redundancy Crusader Talks 2. Today I'm with Annabel, Kaye, and we're continuing our exploration into ontology, which is a fancy word for the way of being, and redundancy. And today we're looking at redundancy and emotions. Ooh, big topic, Annabel.
When I'm working with managers who know they have to tell someone that they're at risk of redundancy, the thing that they will tell me over and over again is, what will I do if they get upset? There's enormous pressure in a manager's mind that this meeting should not be emotional and not include someone getting upset. That's quite difficult actually when you're telling someone, I may fire you. However delicately you put it, once they understand that's where you're going, they're going to have an emotional response. And a lot of corporate redundancy conversations, in the loosest sense of a monologue,
Indeed, yes.
are designed to prevent a moment when someone could get upset. They're designed to keep you moving, to prevent the unexpected and the overflow of emotions.
But I think this is where I get slightly confused, because I don't understand where the expectation comes from that when you tell someone they no longer have a job, that isn't going to provoke upset.
I think people know it's going to provoke upset, but they try to structure the conversation so the upset takes place after the conversation has ended and they don't have to deal with it. They want to kind of have a very brief conversation and then go away, and you can be upset in a room on your own, and they can go and be upset, as they often are actually, in a room on their own, and it's not seen and experienced as something shared.
That's interesting, isn't it, when you think about, because the whole concept of rapport really is about sharing an emotion, being in the same space together. So what we're really saying is that it's not a conversation, this monologue takes place when there's no possibility of that happening, because there's not really any connection going on, is there?
Some managers will see it almost in surgical terms, that they have to do something that's unpleasant, and it is unpleasant to take a knife and put it in another person's flesh.
Okay.
But they're not doing it for the good of the person, unlike most surgeons, but for the good of the body that can no longer sustain this individual. But they do see it as a cutting off, an isolation, and they do not expect to remain in rapport during that process. In fact, they'd like not to, because they don't want to be in rapport with someone in pain.
Okay, so by default there is no acknowledgement of the pain of the person about to leave.
They know it's going to hurt, they just don't want to see it. So it depends what you mean by acknowledgement. Because the whole of management is about, let's pretend this isn't hurting anybody, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose it is, yeah.
It's just an extension of why you're late, or what's your problem, and don't tell me about your home life, and I don't want to know, I just want my report on my desk at 9 o'clock. Ultimately comes home with, I don't want to see you upset when I fire you. That's what management can be in certain organisations, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the opposite of being human.
Yeah, but there's something else going on, isn't there? Because it's not just the fear of seeing that person being upset, it's the fear of the person doing the deed. They're frightened of their own emotion.
Yes. A lot of bosses are very uncomfortable with really the dark side of HR. They're quite happy to give you a pay rise, they love to hand out promotions, they like to be at the Christmas party and say what a happy crew we all are. They don't want to have those conversations. They have similar problems with warnings and negative performance reviews, and the number of managers who give people great appraisals who are rubbish at their job rather than tell them you're not doing it. It's all part of the same thing of putting the troubling emotions outside the structure of that conversation. I'm sure if I was a therapist I'd call it repression or something, but that's how it works. We stay inside the box.
Yeah, I think I've heard it referred to as emotional distancing, and I did meet somebody the other day who told me that during his career he'd made 40 people redundant, and we've had numerous conversations about redundancy, and this thing just popped up out of nowhere, and I said, where's that been? And he just said, that wasn't me, that wasn't the real me doing that, that was the me who makes redundancies.
Yeah.
Which is interesting in terms of emotional distancing, because he'd actually created another persona who did that.
Yeah. And that's a coping strategy lots of
Yes.
managers need.
Yes.
But it's a harsh process to be on the receiving end of.
Yes. Well, as we've discussed before, we're not trying to do redundancy with joy, we're just trying to do redundancy with respect, which we do think is eminently doable. Thank you, Annabel.